For today's video, we're doing a photo shoot with G.I. Joe's resident former supermodel, Courtney, cover girl, Krieger. Okay, first things first. What this video isn't is a review, though I will be giving some thoughts and some size comparisons with other 1/12 scale action figure lines at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. But what this video is going to be is me setting up 3 very different shots featuring CoverGirl and walking you through the process of why I'm doing what I'm doing, how I'm thinking about those shots, as well as editing them in Photoshop, so you can also see how I do that. And now, without further ado, it's time to shoot Miss Courtney Krieger. That's right, folks, we're jumping right into it. So here's the first shot all set up. I'm using the red light for 2 reasons. It matches the hiss, and it gives kind of that element of danger. And then we've got the white light hitting so that we can see a little bit of true color on the figures, as well as this white from the ring light hitting them because, you know, a little more true color on the figures. Now, one thing that I do when I'm setting up images is I always get the camera set up and I try to play within the viewfinder so that it kind of is like a drawing. If you have something set up a little off, you move it, it's like erasing it. You draw it back in, so to speak, by putting it somewhere a little better. So I'm constantly using the camera to draw. Speaking of drawing, the reason I have CoverGirl positioned in this way is because of something I learned reading How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, and that is when you're taking a swing, when you're trying to draw something where, say, Thing is punching something, then you want to see the follow-through. You don't want to see the fist actually hitting the figure or the character because it just doesn't give the same dramatic effect. So that's why here, for CoverGirl punching, you're seeing the follow-through and not the hand landing on the face. And speaking somewhat of her face, I'm also going to be using my smartphone to light her up a little bit to just kind of separate her a little more from the background for the photo. So now, I'm gonna shoot this thing. Now that was a pretty simple setup, so we're gonna get a little more complicated in the next photo where I'm gonna have CoverGirl beating up some bats. And don't worry, you're going to see the photo that I just shot of this setup in the photoshopping section of the video. Before I light this one up, I want to talk a little bit about why I decided to pose things the way I did, what's going on in the shot, talk a little bit about what's going on with the copper wire here. So, let's do that. First, let's talk about CoverGirl's pose here and why I think ball peg waists are so key. What I'm getting here is a little bit of subtlety at that ball peg. So what's going on is she's not only leaned back, but she's leaned to the side a bit because of that ball peg, and that's something you can't do with waist cuts. So waist cuts, they limit a lot of photography possibilities when it comes to more nuanced, subtle posing. You can also see here that just like I did with the last image, when it comes to the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way kind of thing, she's already done with her swing. That was a big follow-through hitting this bat. Now, as for the bat, you can see that he's just flying backwards. Clearly he got hit. That's just the luck of the draw when it comes to posing. I kind of set things up in a way that I think they would look when they got hit in the face with a giant sledgehammer. As far as the copper wire is concerned, that's how I'm keeping him in the air, and I'm just inserting it there, well, you know, in his hip. We're going to say in his hip. That way he's good and balanced. I believe the copper wire is 12 gauge. Don't quote me on that. Mess with your own stuff. See what you can do. But what this is doing is it's keeping its shape, but also allowing me to bend it as needed for posing, just like what's going on with the bat here. And then we've got the rest of the bats that I use to just kind of fill out the scene. But the main action we're going to see here is CoverGirl smacking that bat. Now, I'm gonna light it up. And now Courtney and the bats are good and lit up. I'm using this blue light back here to simulate night a little bit. We've got this white light to again show true color, and the reflector is bouncing some of that white light onto them. Now what I'm going to do with Courtney is just like I did earlier, I'm also going to shine my phone's flashlight on her just to make her pop a little bit away from the background. So I'm gonna go ahead and shoot now. Now you might notice here that the bat's gone. That's because what I do when I'm doing something using copper wire, I take two shots. I take one with the figure using the copper wire in it, and then the second shot I remove the figure and the copper wire so I can mask the wire out for the background in the photo editing process. So you'll get to see all that, including this picture, once we get to the Photoshop section. If you're digging this video and you dig action figure photography, head over to the Toypixx Patreon page where you can download all kinds of files to help enhance your figure pics. Things like digital backgrounds and effects and foregrounds are all over there for you to download for absolute free. You don't even have to be a member. You can also sign up on the Toypixx Patreon page at the Grande tier for $5 a month. That'll allow you to join in on the action figure photography contests that happen every month. The theme for August 2025 is teams. The winner will receive 2 G.I. Joe classified Retro Cobra Vipers to either enhance your already massive army or to get one started. Links to the Patreon page and the contest are in the description below. For this last shot, we're going to be diving into CoverGirl's Supermodel past and creating an image that could be used as a poster for recruiting young action figures into your G.I. Joe team. I want to give it a bright, hopeful look, so as you can see, I already have the ring light set up with a warmer color going on with it. I also have this LED with an orange gel over it, as well as the reflector there where that light is bouncing off of. And to hit this door and make that all good and bright, I've got another LED with an orange gel. Now I'm just gonna put my phone on the tripod and hit record so you can see me set this up for the final shot. Here we go. To no one's surprise, once I put the camera down there so I could sort of draw in how I wanted everything positioned in the photo, I had to really squeeze in everything to make it work a little better. So, there you go, ladies and gentlemen, that one's been shot. Now it's time to get to some photoshopping. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here is the very first picture in Photoshop. Now, this is a Canon file, so it's a CR2 file is what I shot it as, which means it basically just keeps the highest possible quality, makes it easier to edit, it's a RAW file, all that good stuff. So I opened Photoshop as that CR2 file, but what actually happens is it goes into a little program called Adobe Camera Raw before it gets to the Photoshop part. So we're in that, and to be honest, lately I've been doing more of my editing in here than I have with Photoshop. Photoshop I've been doing more for scaling and putting the logo on and the proportions and all that good stuff. So I'll show you how to use a little bit of Camera Raw in case you're using the CR2. I'm sorry, in case you're using a Canon camera and all that, and you're getting CR2 files as well. So this is just, if you're familiar with Photoshop, it's kind of doing the same kind of stuff. We've got the Adobe adaptive kind of color deal going on there that I kept. I decided to use that. We're keeping that at 100. I like it there. The lights, what you're going to learn about messing with this stuff is it's all playing. You're just trying to see what you can make happen with all of it. So I like a little more contrast. I like a lot of color in my images. I'm a comic cinema type of guy. But then I also want the highlights. I want to make sure there's plenty of light coming through. You can see here, we popped her head a little forward using light with the top of her hat there. And this is it. I just sit here and I play. There's no crazy mystery, no
stinking crazy tricks that I pull off or anything like that. So those were just light adjustments, and don't worry, you're not going to get much more. I'm not going to worry about showing you a lot of the Photoshop stuff and the raw stuff after this one. You will be able to download all the Photoshop files as they are, so you can see how I structure them as we go through. But a lot of what I'm going to show you now, I'll just talk you through this one, and then I'll just fast forward all the other stuff. Unless it's something that I feel I need to talk about. For instance, we'll be talking about masking on the next one, so I'll fast forward until we get to that part, and then I'll show you how to do that. Now, those were just slight color adjustments. Now here, it's just a little bit of texture. We're kind of popping out edges a little bit with this texture, and oftentimes, I don't know, I don't use a lot of texture. I do tend to use quite a bit of clarity though. Not tons in this one, it just kind of depends on what's going on with the photo. Now dehaze, if I move it this way, you'll see things start to get a little darker. And if I move it to the left, you'll see a little lighter. So it's kind of eliminating any haze that would be there, which works because I don't want any haze there. Vignette I'll leave alone, grain I'll leave alone, curves. I'm going to leave curves alone too, but I'll show you real quick how it works. You go like this when you want to see the light stuff really start to get light. And you go like this when you want to see the dark stuff really get dark. And then it works the same way depending on the channel. So I'm using the red channel here. If you want the light part to be redder, you go way up. If you want it to be a little more, if you want the dark part to be cyan, you go like that. It all gets kind of crazy. So yeah, that's how it works. I don't mess with it much. Don't worry, I feel like I gotta be way more crazy, way more entertaining. Now this is fun here. I'm not gonna worry about saturation. I feel like the saturation is pretty good all across the board here. But what we can do with luminance is we can lighten areas that need to be lightened. So if we wanted the red to get super light, we would drag that all the way there. If we want it to get super dark, we drag it there. So that's just kind of how it all works. I don't think we need much in that either. Oranges, maybe a touch, see what happens. No, well, you know what, yeah, let's add a little bit more for the lightness on her hair. Yellow, I don't think yellow needs much. No, yellow doesn't need much, and it doesn't do much. So we'll stop that. Not gonna bother with green. We could see sometimes that blue, you can't tell if it's blue or cyan. Once in a while, that hat is a little more cyan. Or a little more blue, I'm sorry, so we're not messing with cyan up there. So now it's just plain, seeing what looks good. I think I'll leave that as is. There's really not a lot to do with this one. I think we're doing pretty well with most of it. Now here, I'm gonna again just show you how this works. I might not use it. This would be midtones. Usually midtones I like to put in the cyan range a little bit. So you can see how it's getting a little more cyan. That way it looks like it was a shot sort of at light. And I do the same thing with dark tones as well. We'll go a little more cyan that way too. But I like this. I think that looks good. Now, do we want midtones darker? We can do this. Or if we want them lighter, we can do that. I don't think I want them. I think I'm good with them right now. Hold on. No, I think I'm good with them right in the middle. Now shadows, same deal. We're going to go a little more cyan on those too. Just again to make it a little more so it shows up as nighttime a bit. And with that one, we could make it a little darker. Just a touch, not too much. And now highlights, generally you want to go a little more orange or yellow in that range. At least I like to, or kind of that more movie look. The cyan going darker like that isn't just for night. You usually get like a, if you watch some of the old action movies, I always talk about the Transformers movies like 2007. you'll get a lot of cyan in the dark areas and a lot of orangish color in the light areas. And I wasn't the biggest fan of those flicks, but I didn't think the color was all that bad. I thought it added something to it. So I like to kind of come close to that sort of deal. So there's that with the highlights. Now here we can make the highlights even a little lighter, or we can darken those up a bit. I kind of like it. I think I like it a little darker. So there we go with CoverGirl punching the Hiss Tank driver. We can even go blend it a little more this way, or we can blend it way left. So I think I actually liked it blended a little bit more like this, I think. And then we can balance it this way or that way. And I think, there we go. Let's balance it more like that. It wasn't a lot, but just a touch. Detail, optics, lens blur, I leave those alone. Then I get into calibration. And now we just drag. We see what we want the tint to be at. And we play a little bit. I'm probably not going to do much with the tint. In fact, no, I'm just going to keep that where it is. We're in the red primary channel, which usually what red does is contrast, but it also is actually messing with the red color. And then what green does is it messes more with detail. And then when it comes to blue, I believe that messes more with just whatever's left over when we're talking different channels and all that stuff. It was something I learned way back when. I might be getting some of it wrong, so don't hold it against me if I am. But you can see what's going on as I drag this a little bit both ways. That's almost too much color. But yeah, like I said, I get to the point where I'm almost, let's see, we go this way, we're going a little orange. Do we want orange? I don't know if I want orange. I definitely don't want magenta. I don't hate the orange. Yeah, I'm gonna go a little orange. I know, that's what I'm saying though, guys. It's all playing. It's all playing, trying to figure it out that way. Now we'll mess with the green channel a little bit here. Just play with the hue. You can see just a little, you can see how it all kind of jumps. That's what I mean. It's not just green that's getting changed here. No, I'm being all quiet now. I'm concentrating clearly, but I am going to leave that. Now see, I jump up the saturation on this channel and you can see that everything is getting more saturated. So let's see about toning it down a touch and see what happens. Oh, that's adding to that nighttime kind of deal, isn't it? That's pretty sweet. Now we mess with the blue channel a little bit. I don't necessarily like, ooh, that's kind of a cool look, but I'm not sure that's what we want. Yeah, I think 0's good there, but let's see what happens when we drag the blue up here. You get more, drag it back here, you're gonna get a lot less saturation. Ooh, I kind of like that too. See, I like colors, I really do, but sometimes removing that saturation gives it a really good look. So, we open it up now, and if I'm honest, the photoshopping is pretty much, well, at least as far as that stuff is concerned, I would say is done. Like, I'm pretty happy with that. So at this point, all I'm going to do is select all. I'm going to copy, and then we're going to go to a new one, and the image size that I use is 3504 by 19, hang on, let me see, I can't remember, what do we have, by, wait a second, 2336, that's not right, hang on, I know, I did poorly there, don't worry, we're going to get okay. 3504 by 1971, that's the size. And what that is it's a 16 by 9 ratio, old school cinema style. So I'm dropping her in here and just moving the image up a little bit. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. All I have left to do on this image is just add the Toypixx logo. So there's Courtney getting her punch on. All right, here's where we're going to speed round some of this, but just so you can all see real quick, I have both those images selected for the second one, which is, of course, the one with CoverGirl hitting the bat, and the one where the bat is no longer in the image, because that way I'll be able to mask it out. I'm going to fly through this part, and then when it gets to masking, I will make sure to explain exactly what I'm doing. Good Lord, words are hard. Here we go. Okay, now real quick, I wanted to show you here that what I'm going to do is scale this up a little bit. There's too much room there on the left, I think. So, let's scale it up. There we go. Now that bat looks like he's taking all kinds of punishment. That will lose some resolution, but it was a pretty high resolution style picture, so it shouldn't be too bad. Now I'm going to get into masking real quick, and I'll show you what's going on with that. I click the mask button down there. I make sure that black is selected as my foreground color, and I promise you it is. You can kind of see it up here in the upper right hand corner. The problem is I selected an area too small to show you the full Photoshop screen, but you can see the image, and hopefully I'm explaining it well enough as I go. Now I selected a brush tool. And I'm going to zoom in a little more by hitting Command plus, and then the left bracket, if you hit it on your keyboard, will make that smaller. The right bracket will make the brush larger, and what you're doing is you're basically just removing the wire here. And you can see it seems to be going pretty well. One thing I did notice is the color's a little tiny bit off, so I'll have to make some slight adjustments there. But overall, what you're seeing right here is masking. And if I show the whole image now, you don't even see that it was there. So ladies and gentlemen, it is that easy. I'm actually pretty happy with this as is. I'm doing a lot, it looks like, out of the Adobe Camera Raw without using so much Photoshop. But I'm still going to play for a second with photo filters and see what I can come up with. Alright, I'm pretty happy with what we got here so far, but I'm going to do one more thing that I'm going to show you. And that is where he's got his eye here kind of busted a little bit. Sort of hard to tell with how blurry that is, but hey, that's because of the way I set the focus. I'm going to select this wand tool. I'm going to set it to 20 for the feathering. And I'm just going to draw a really crude circle here. It won't be a big deal, but it's roughly where the eye is for that bat. And I'm going to copy and paste right on top of it. So we've got a new layer here, and all I'm going to do is set that to linear dodge so it's a little brighter. I could do screen. Let's go linear dodge. You can sort of see the difference there. Actually, here, let me zoom in so you can see it better. You can see where the eye should be, and you can see how it's getting a little brighter as I hit that. In fact, I'm gonna hit it one more, maybe another time. There we go. Now that's the bat getting cracked in the head with the old sledge. And now, I think I'm happy with this one. Now here I'm upscaling her and just rotating her ever so slightly, just to give it a little more of a dramatic, I suppose. Make the look a little more interesting, to be perfectly honest. And I think, ladies and gents, I'm pretty good with that. Give me a sec. I'll mess with the filter and see if anything shows up better. No, it did not. This is perfect, as is. I'm good with it. Floating across your screen right now should be those 3 photos all completely edited. Now in the video description below, I will leave links to the Photoshop and the high-res JPEG images so you can download them for free. I also put those kinds of things on the Toypixx Patreon if you ever want to check those out. The reason I do that is because you might just dig the pics and you want to download them. Or maybe you're a company that needs to use pics like these for marketing, or, and here's where it gets crazy for all the designers out there, it's something that I wish I had when I was learning this stuff. You can see how somebody else structures their Photoshop files. Now, let's keep this moving.
Size comparison time. Here's CoverGirl with the first couple of G.I. Joe. We have the 00 Snake Eyes and the Retro Scarlet. Now here she is with a couple dastardly villains. We have the Retro Cobra Commander and the Hiss Tank Gunner. From Vala vs. Action Force line, we have the dastardly Bone Collector and the heroic Eclipse. From Big Bad Workshop and Fresh Monkey Fiction's Operation Monster Force, we have Declan Van Helsing and the Sleepwalker Crimson Moon Division. Naturally. From Jada Toys Street Fighter 2 Ultra, we have Ryu and Chun-Li. Also from Jada, and for funsies, we have Tony the Tiger and Mega Man. From the Mafex Batman Hush line, we have the Cape Crusader himself and Catwoman strutting her own catwalk style stuff. And finally, we're going Mafex Marvel style with Captain America and Storm. Thoughts on CoverGirl are these. CoverGirl is rad. The fact is, if I don't like a figure, I'm not gonna focus on it when it comes to the channel. I dig that we get the stoic head sculpt. I dig that we get a smiling face. You don't get that often when it comes to action figures. The only problem I have with CoverGirl is the same problem I have with all kinds of G.I. Joe female action figures, and that is, even though they have a ball peg waist, they don't get a whole lot of range from it. So hopefully in the future, the G.I. Joe design team will take a crack at fixing that. Courtney has an extra head, she has extra hands, she comes with weapons, she even has a stand. Yeah, this makes her a very photogenic action figure. In short, yeah, I get her. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's up to you. Which action figure would you like to see get its very own photo shoot? Let me know in the comments, and if enough people are into it, I'll make it happen. For those new to the channel, Toypixx has live streams every Monday and Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so come hang out with the best chatters on the internet. Thank you very much for taking the time to check out this video, and until next time, have fun and happy snapping. See ya.